So one of the projects in this course is the Environmental Controversy Project. And as the name suggests, you're going to be researching an environmental controversy and researching both sides of the argument. The pros and the cons, the good guys versus the bad guys, the haves and the have-nots, really looking at both sides of the issue. Now, although it's called a controversy for the project, not all of these topics are like, oh my God, there's like people dying over this issue. I just use the word controversy just to spark this idea that there's two sides to these issues. So in general, this project includes a paper, a 2 to 3 page paper, as well as a presentation, which will be 3 minutes long. And so this video, as well as a second video, is going to go over the different parts of this project. So we're first going to start in Blackboard, and currently I am in the Projects, Assignments, and Extra Credit folder. And I'm going to go to the Environmental Controversy folder. The very first thing that pops up is the project overview, which includes the instructions, and I'm going to jump to those instructions in just a moment. We outline two different things. So one, you're going to have a quick quiz on Blackboard that actually follows this video. That's probably why you're watching this video. And then in about a month, there's going to be another video. You can currently view the video. You can do it ahead of time if you want to. But the other video is about the presentation. The presentation is built off of your paper, so we really want to focus on the paper first. Once you finish your paper, the presentation is going to be super easy to complete. The very first thing after these two quick quizzes, it tells you what the overview of the deadlines are. This is also found in the project overview. And then all of the various assignments are all found in this folder, and they are listed in order that you will be completing them. And so in this video and in the second video, we'll kind of talk about some of these different items. So I'm actually going to go ahead and jump to the project overview, so I already have it open. Again, here are those deadlines. Here is just what I'm expecting of you. So the whole point of this project is really for you to, one, get practice doing research, and two, learning both sides of an issue. Because we have such a short amount of time in this class together, I typically only present one side of the issue, what's better for the environment. It is an environmental biology course. However, we also need to recognize that a lot of these solutions we talk about aren't 100% perfect solutions, that there are downsides to them, or there's someone that's getting the short end of the stick. And so the purpose of this paper is to really be able to find information, to research information, evaluate that information, and really come to a conclusion based on what you've learned. So the first thing you're going to do is choose a topic. I actually provide you with a whole long list of topics to help you choose what you'd like to do. So I'll show you where that is in Blackboard. So the very first thing is topic selection. If you click on this link, it's going to open up essentially a Wikipedia page within Blackboard. And here I have tons of different topics. Topics I know that there's information out there on both sides of the issue. There's about 30 or so topics. There's 24 of you guys, so there's plenty of topics to go around. Also, if you have an idea for something that I don't have listed, you can also email me, ask me in class, and I'll let you know if your topic's approved, and I'll add it to this list. So the first thing you're going to do is choose a topic, and you're going to sign up for it. So you're going to click on Edit Wiki Content. And then depending on which class you're in, if you're in my 9:30 class, you'll put your name in the 9:30. If you're in the 2 p.m. class, put your name in the 2 p.m. and just enter your name. So I'm like, oh, I want to look at GMO salmon. I'll put Kirsten. Do your first and last name just in case there's other people in the class with the same name as you. If someone's name is already there, please do not erase their name and put your name. One, I can tell that you have because it tracks all the changes, and two, that's just not very nice. So do this earlier. The earlier you do it, the more likely you're going to get a topic that you'd like. So just letting you know that this is posted. Once you have put in your name, go ahead and click submit, and then what will happen, I can't really show you here because I didn't put anything, is your name will pop up. And it's there, and you're signed up. And signing up for your topic is literally 3 points. Now, you may be like, well, why don't I do something I know a lot about? I know so much about solar power. I'm going to do that as my topic. You can. I would really encourage you, though. I think you'll get a lot more out of this project if you choose something that you've never heard of before. Everything I chose is something that someone has heard of. These aren't really weird, obscure things. I would recommend choosing something that you're like, what is fast fashion? That sounds interesting. I like clothes. So choose something, well, that interests you, but maybe something that you haven't heard of before or didn't even realize there was two parts of that issue. Maybe you thought, oh, I always thought this was good. What could be bad about it? It's completely up to you. I'm not going to be asking, hey, did you choose something you didn't know about? It doesn't matter. So that's the first thing, is choosing a topic. After choosing a topic, it is doing paper source evaluations. So what I mean by that is whatever your topic is, there's going to be two sides to it. Maybe there's a pros and a cons. Maybe that topic really benefits one group of people but really harms another group of people. There's two sides to all of these issues. What you need to do for this project is you need to do research. You need to find sources that help to explain both sides of that issue, the pros and the cons, the good guys and the bad guys. Now, for this project, you need at least 2 sources of information, and they have to be reliable resources. They have to be reputable resources. If you get anything off of the MC Library's website, those will probably be just fine. But let's say you can't find what you're looking for. So maybe you're just doing a Google search. Essentially, what you're looking for is, does it have an author? Is it an author you know of or has credentials? You might find a lot of blog websites. Those are not reputable. It doesn't matter who wrote them. If it's on someone's personal website, that more than likely means that it wasn't looked over at all. It wasn't published without someone else looking at it. For example, the EPA website, they may not list an author, but there was a lot of people that looked at that information before it got posted on the website. And so you can see a big difference in the quality of those sources. So for your paper, what I want you to do is to complete a worksheet. It's the source evaluation worksheet. And I want you to complete 2 of them. One of the worksheets for a source for your pros side and one worksheet for your source for the cons side, or for this organization and that organization. So I want to see that you've looked through this resource and that you can identify that it is a reliable and a good resource. So jumping back over to Blackboard, let's take a look at what those source evaluations are. So again, going to the projects folder, environmental controversy, and a couple weeks after choosing your topic are the paper source evaluations. So I'm going to open up the attachment here. This is the blank evaluation worksheet. You're going to download this to your computer and you're going to fill out the information. So the title of the article, the website, who are the authors, is this information accurate? How do you know? Is it biased? Is it current? And then finally your conclusion. If you're seeing that a lot of these questions you can't answer or the answer is no, then it's probably not a good resource and that you should not use it. And so this is going to help you identify good resources to use. So the first worksheet is for, again, one of your sources on one side of the issue. Second worksheet is for one of your sources on the other side of the issue. Now you might have multiple resources. Maybe you're doing research and you have found 5 awesome sources and you're going to use all of them for your paper. Great. But for this assignment specifically, you only need 2 sources, just one from each side. If you have more, it might be good to mentally go through this checklist, but you only need to turn in 2 of these source evaluations. So the first one and the second one. Save it to your computer, and then you're going to upload it back into Blackboard. Now, since you've done your paper source evaluations, you're already finding your information. The following week, you are welcome to turn in a rough draft of your paper. And so let's talk a little bit about the paper in general. So I'm going to scroll down to the research paper part of this. It's 2 to 3 pages. And when I say 2 pages, I mean 2 full pages, not a page and then half a page. 2 full pages, up to 3. Do not give me more than 3 pages. Your goal, if you're like, well, I wrote like 7 pages, which I have had students do, I want you to be succinct. I want you to be clear and concise. I want you to figure out the most important information. What your paper will be is first just an overview of the controversy. If you're talking about solar power, you should talk about what exactly is solar power and how do we use it and what do we know about it. And also just a very, very, very brief summary of both sides of the issue. Then you're going to go a little bit more in depth on each side. So here's why solar power is good, here's what it does, and here's why it's not so good. Here are some of the downsides of it. For some of your topics, make sure you're really trying to find the environmental issues. Some topics, the pros might be environmental, but the cons might have nothing to do with the environment. That is okay. But some of your topics have clear environmental positives and negatives. Remember, we're an environmental class, so we really want to focus on that when we can. Then finally, you're going to kind of state your opinion on the issue. You've done all this research. Where do you stand? And I know if you've taken English courses here, they may have said like, oh, never use the word I, like I think this or I think that. In this part of the paper, I encourage you to use the word I, because I want to know what your opinion is based on the information that you've learned. Now, you'll talk about what you think, but you also need to support it. Don't say, well, I think recreational hunting is good because my dad thinks it's good. Okay, you just did all this research. I hope you have more evidence than that. So support your reasoning with evidence. And then also, if you're like, well, I don't quite agree with this, but I do think this is an issue, maybe identify some solutions and talk about some solutions or some sort of middle ground. Now, I will let you know, so that's the bulk of your paper. This essay needs to be in your words entirely. You're going to be using a lot of research. You need to paraphrase all of your research. You will miss points if you use direct quotes. Direct quotes are not appropriate in this course. They're really not appropriate in science at all. And that's why I'm telling you, you cannot use direct quotes. Because in science, we don't use direct quotes. We paraphrase. Now, because you're doing research, we will be doing citations. A lot of you might be familiar with MLA. That's what English uses. In science, we use APA. They're quite similar, but just know that it's not MLA. It is different. You will have a separate reference pages. This is a reference page. This is not part of the 2 to 3 page count. And then I have the grading rubric, which I'll show you in just a moment. The formatting area will tell you exactly what I want that paper to look like, so you guys can read through this on your own time. And then I have a whole section about how do you find good resources, good articles to use. I also give you an example of how to paraphrase information. Again, paraphrasing is not just changing a word or two. Paraphrasing is taking the main thoughts and ideas and putting it in your own words. I know you guys pretty well at this point that I can easily recognize when you just copied and pasted or changed a word because it's not your style. And it's very easy for me to recognize that. I also tell you how to do APA formatting, including how do you do the in-text citation with examples here, as well as how to do the end references. So how do you cite them at the end of your paper? Here's the breakdown of all the points that you can earn. Definitely take a look through this, especially when you're writing your paper. And so back to the next assignment, the rough draft. This is optional. It's not worth any points. However, students who turn in a rough draft get my feedback, and if you follow my feedback, you're going to get a really great score on the paper. It's happened with all of my students. Those students get higher grades than students who don't submit a rough draft because I'm telling you, hey, you're going to miss points here because your English sucks, or you're going to miss points because you didn't really clarify what you meant by this. So I recommend everyone to do the rough draft. Finally, you'll turn in your final draft. For some of you guys, if you didn't do a rough draft, then that's it. With this final draft, it is due during spring break, which I know can kind of suck, but you can turn it in before spring break and you will get extra credit for it. So this is one of the opportunities to earn extra credit in this course is by turning this assignment in early. I teach 2 classes. There's 48 of you guys. I don't want to be grading 48 papers over spring break, so I'm rewarding you guys for turning it in early. If you do the rough draft, this is even easier because you've already written the paper. You just make the changes, submit it early, and not only will you get a really good grade, but you get extra credit on top of it. So really a lot of ways to help you succeed with this. After you submit your paper the following week, so the paper's due spring break, the following week are the presentations. The presentations will be during class time, during the 2 classes after spring break. And then finally a reflection. Now this video is pretty much going to end here. We're going to talk about the presentation in a following video. The main reason being the paper is the most important thing. It is worth the most amount of points, and that is what you're basing your presentation off of. You can't work on your presentation until you finish your paper. So don't worry about the presentation right now. Finish that paper, and then once you do, move on to the presentation.